So if you have not noticed, South Africans have now immigrated to the US. There's a group of white South Africans that have been classified as refugees that have been allowed to enter the US. Don't believe me? Check this out. And we're going to get into some of the hypocrisy here, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out. You see, now all of a sudden it seems to be okay. So everyone's going to say it's not a large group. Compare the numbers. I get that. I get the numbers. That's not what this is about. This is about if you complained about refugees coming to the country and you got a problem with people coming as refugees, you should have a problem with these white South Africans who just came here as refugees, which, as you will see, the president of South Africa is going to explain to you how they're not even refugees. This is a nod, a wink and a nod to Elon Musk. That's really what this is. Elon got what he wanted. Let's continue. I want to get to the part where the gentleman speaks here.
It is such an honor for us to receive you here today. This is the land of the free, and we know that all of you have faced... I'm Chris Landau. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the Deputy Secretary of State of the United States. This is my friend Troy Edgar.
Yeah, I'm the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. And again, welcome. So great to have you guys here.
I know you've gone through a long flight. I cannot believe there are babies and children who are actually so well behaved. This is much better than mine are. So bless you for that. And
did you all get the talking point? So well behaved. Okay. So where are they going to get the housing from, folks? Who's going to give them housing? Where's all that stuff? If you were complaining about your tax dollars going towards refugees coming in the country, who is paying for all of this stuff for them? Because I'm trying to hold people to their word. I'm trying to see if people are being consistent. Let's go on.
You know, I think it's so happy. It makes me so happy to see you with our flag in your hands, and that flag symbolizes liberty for so many of us. Many of us, our families have had a journey not that different from the journey that you are embarking on today. My own father was born in Europe and had to leave his country when Hitler came in the 1930s and made his way to South America first and then eventually to the United States. So he is an immigrant who actually was able to benefit from the many blessings of this country. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to go and work for the government is because I wanted to give back to this country that really brought freedom to my family and allowed us to escape a very difficult situation in another country. So, I know that this is going to be, any adjustment in life, any change takes a while to get used to. But I want you all to know that you are really welcome here and that we respect what you have had to deal with these last few years. We respect the long tradition of your people and what you have accomplished over the years. And I am sure that you will be successful. It's, as you know, a lot of you, I think, are farmers, right? When you have quality seeds, you can put them in foreign soil and they will blossom. They will.
Pause. Does everybody see what's happening here, right? So he's saying they're escaping a dangerous situation. As you're going to see, that's not the case. There is no genocide of white South Africans. That is a lie. Now, I bring this up to prove a point. The U.S. government won't allow Palestinians to come to the U.S. They won't allow them to come here as refugees. They won't allow, they're not alone, but it's certain ones that is like, okay, come on in. There was no danger, and you'll see that. There's no danger that they were really in. And wait till you find out who they really are. But you literally have kids starving in Gaza. You have kids being bombed in Gaza. You have people, don't forget about the West Bank, what Israel is doing to people there, but they're not allowed to come here. And they're in a legit dangerous situation, but they're allowed to come here. This was a nod to Elon Musk. This is what Elon Musk wanted. This was a wink and a nod for him. Do these people look like they were in danger? Do any of the people here look like they are malnourished or they have been going through starvation? Do they look this way to you? They don't look that way to me. Don't none of them look hungry? Don't none of them look like they have been bombed or their clothes look very clean? They seem to be fine to me. So what is this dangerous situation that they are supposed to be running from?
Bloom. And we are excited to welcome you here to our country where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives for your children, and then we will bloom and we will benefit alongside you. So thank you very much for coming here.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're here. And now what we are noticing, because I want to bring this up as well, is that you're going to see that the president of South Africa is going to make it very clear to you, under the definition, they don't even qualify as refugees. So let's go ahead and bring in Cyril here. He's going to explain this to people, why they're not refugees.
As we speak, 49 white African refugees are on their way to the United States. They will be received by the government of President Trump. What is your reaction to this?
Well, we've raised our own concern because those people who are being enticed to go to the United States do not fit the definition of a refugee. A refugee is someone who has to leave their country out of fear of political persecution, religious persecution, or economic persecution. And
that's what the United States says they're undergoing in South Africa. That's why they've opened the door for them.
Yes, and they don't fit that bill. They don't fit that description. And I had a conversation with President Trump on the phone, and he said, what's happening down there? And I said, President, what you've been told by those people who are opposed to transformation back home in South Africa is not true. And I added to him, I said, we were well taught by Nelson Mandela and other iconic leaders like Oliver Tambo on how to continue to build a united nation out of the diverse groupings that we have in South Africa. We're the only country on the continent where the colonizers came to stay, and we have never driven them out of our country. So they are staying, and they're making great progress. It's a fringe grouping that does not have a lot of support, that is anti-transformation and anti-change, that would actually prefer to see South Africa going back to apartheid type of policies. And I said to him, I would never do that. I learned at the feet of Nelson Mandela, and we intend to proceed with the implementation of our constitutional architecture. And I thought in my conversation with him early in the morning at 4 o'clock South African time, he understood that. And I said, I'd like to come and meet him so that we can discuss this matter further. So those people who have fled are not being persecuted. They are not being hounded. They are not being treated badly. And they are leaving ostensibly because they don't want to embrace the changes that are taking place in our country in accordance with our constitution.
So that part is important for people to hear. You have to remember those people, again, they were the colonizers, okay? We're forgetting what South Africa was. One of the most unequal countries in the world. One of them, not the only one. Okay? So Europeans came to South Africa, stole land from the Black South Africans, and still have a problem with the fact that the black South Africans even have any bit of it, any bit of the land, when it wasn't theirs to begin with. So think about this for a second. So you need to understand that the people who came here, these people were not oppressed. Let me let them finish here and we'll go on to some of the other videos to show you.
So we think that the American government has got the wrong end of the stick here, but we'll continue talking to them.
So a face-to-face meeting is coming up. Is Elon Musk invited when you have that face-to-face meeting?
Well, I don't know. They will determine whether Elon Musk is part of it or not. I will go with my own South African delegation.
Your Excellency, thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Yeah, so that's important for people to hear. It's very obvious, the virtue signaling. It's very obvious what's happening here. Now, I want you to hear this video as well. South Africa warns Trump about refugees. Importing white races is on brand for this administration. Listen to what this guy says, okay? People need to know who just came here. Listen to this.
So South Africa's own government is even coming out today and telling Trump, if you want to take on these refugees, that's on you. But just so you know, none of them have been properly vetted. A lot of them have been involved in protests that are pro-apartheid. And on top of that, these guys are actually claiming that they're being persecuted for being white. I don't know if you know a whole lot about South Africa, where Elon Musk is from, but the apartheid just ended not very long ago. If you don't know what that is, it was mass segregation. South Africa's government also came out and added that it's really hard to be a refugee of persecution when you're amongst the most highest earners and highly educated in the entire region. But in my personal opinion, this kind of gives me remnants of Operation Paperclip, what the U.S. government did after World War II. They got a little over 1,500 German scientists and high-ranking officials from the military, Hitler's military, to come over to the United States so they could learn from them. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 2 + 2 = 4. What Trump's been doing here in the United States as far as deporting individuals, they've all been brown people. And now he's more than willing to bring thousands of white people claiming they've been persecuted by brown people without even fully vetting them. The answer to this simple mathematical equation is Trump wants more white people in the United States. If it ain't white, it ain't right. And that's literally Trump's mindset. You can't prove me otherwise.
Now, one of the things I will add as well, again, like I said, these are not the people. These people are not persecuted. Okay, listen to this woman. A white South African woman speaks on the group of South African refugees that just entered the U.S. She said, this is for the Americans.
This is for the Americans. If you're not an American, feel free to watch, but please try and get it to the Americans. My name is Bianca van Wyk, born in South Africa, live in South Africa. Today, you will be welcoming the so-called white Afrikaans refugees. They are there based on an offer made to them, which I must say was informed by disinformation about South Africa. Now, I've seen a lot of takes on who Americans think they are receiving. Okay, you are not getting successful, professional, white, middle-class South Africans that are fleeing South Africa. The people you are getting are the people that believe that there is discrimination against them based on their race. Keep in mind, we live in the most unequal country in the world. We have, for instance, 70% of agricultural land and agricultural holdings are owned by white South Africans. 62 to 68% of top leadership positions in corporate are filled by white males.
That's the part that people really need to hear. Like I said, they were colonizers. They came there and they colonized South Africa. They are in the majority of the leadership positions. They own most of the land, and they are saying that they're the ones that are being victimized and they're the ones that are oppressed. Like this makes no sense whatsoever. People really have to pay attention to what is going on here. I will not let my viewers be misled by this at all. Let me let her continue.
There's a huge salary disparity between white South Africans and the rest of the population. And there are a number of other indicators which shows you that this story of discrimination based on race is false. Another thing that I wanted to say is that you will get certain so-called refugees that have experienced crime. However, in South Africa, no one is exempt. These people that you are welcoming assume because they're white, they should not experience crime. The people most affected by crime in South Africa happen to be Black people that live in poverty.
Yep.
So as you open your doors and welcome people, and you're going to get a lot of information and disinformation from these people, please do keep that in mind. Oh, I also would like to say all the best and good luck to the Americans.
Yeah, she said, good luck to the Americans because you got them now. Yeah. They're not like, this is what people need to understand. I interviewed a guy on the show the very first year I had this show. He was living in South Africa, and he came on to talk about just how the apartheid, how everything was there, and just shockingly crazy. And then this guy I thought was very, very interesting here. This guy, thank you, Nay, for sharing this. White Americans are not so welcoming to the Afrikaners. Listen to what this guy says about the taxes. Hold on.
Donald Trump is chartering a plane using U.S. taxpayer money to bring refugees from South Africa to America. Now let's think about this for just one moment. What is the same about all these South African refugees that we might notice? They're all white people. That's right. And so when we talk about deporting people, it appears that they're mostly non-white. But we can bring in South Africans who are white. And I just can't shake this feeling. That maybe, and I'm not saying it, I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not in the room when these conversations occur. It seems to me that it's possible that these guys in the White House are motivated by certain aspects of these people that they're bringing in and taking out. I'm not saying it's true.
So he is so funny to me because he said that in the most polite way possible. He said, I don't know, but it kind of seems to me that it, you know what I mean? So again, in the theme of the show, I want something else. Yeah, I want something else. Look, here's the thing. Our immigration system in this country is terrible. It's appalling. It has not been fixed. Every presidential election during my life, I've heard presidential candidates talk about how they're going to fix the immigration system in this country. And it's just a talking point at this point, right? Trump came along and he said he was going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it and all this crazy stuff. But none of them talk about the geopolitics of it all. None of them talk about that a lot of these people, before even coming to the U.S., have already gone to other countries. Why don't they talk about that? Why don't they tell you that a lot of the people that are coming from Venezuela aren't even Venezuelan? They're from other countries in South America, and they migrated to Venezuela first before they even made it here. Why don't I tell you that? Why don't they say that people are also migrating to other countries as well? This is another one that I feel gets left out. You think people are just coming to the US? They're not. People are going to Canada. People are going to Germany. When I lived in Germany, I remember that there were refugees from Turkey. They pushed them into ghettos. They were called Turkish ghettos. I still remember this. There were refugees there living in Germany that were from Turkey. People were going to France. People were going to all other European countries too. They're not just coming to the United States. But they never connect the geopolitics. They never want to talk about what the US did to those countries and what France did to those countries and what the UK did to those countries and are still doing to those countries. They want to complain about people migrating from Haiti, but they don't want to tell you what the Clintons did to Haiti. They don't want to tell you what Woodrow Wilson did to Haiti, how they destroyed these countries. They put sanctions on them so that the people can barely build and have a developing, country. And then they wonder why people trying to leave. So that is a part of it. Now, is everybody coming here because of that reason? No, not everybody. Some people are coming because they do want opportunity. They want something different. But the geopolitics of it all, a lot of people, if you talk to them, they would rather stay where they are. Just like what you see happening in Burkina Faso. And we talked about this on the show. What Ibrahim is doing should be applauded by all, because Ibrahim is pushing people like France out and said, no, you are not going to come in and colonize my country. You're not going to steal our resources anymore. This is our land and we're going to stay here. Problem is, when leaders in other countries do that, the US government and the West in general has been known for taking those leaders out. They did this to Gaddafi. This is the part none of these presidential candidates will talk about on the stage when they have these debates, when they're running for office, because it's a taboo issue. And if they have that conversation, then they have to admit that the West is corrupt. They would have to admit that we're bad. Like what we do to these people, what we do to these countries. Because a lot of them want to stay where they are. So that needs to be part of the conversation. But the group that just came here, they, according to the president of South Africa, do not qualify for refugee status. They are not being oppressed. It's appalling. And that's why I had Elon on the thumbnail, because this really is a nod to him. This is what Elon wanted. He was one of the people that pushed for this, right? So once again, you have billionaires making decisions about what happens in our country. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.